I'm Grace Mitchell. I'm 28. She is a gold digger, just like her mother. My father announced into the microphone at my wedding reception in front of 300 guests. The room went completely silent, and my mother's hands shook at table 3. My grandmother gripped the edge of her chair. My brand new husband stood frozen beside the cake, and I, the bride in white, didn't cry. I didn't scream. I walked to the DJ booth, smiled at the sound engineer, and pressed play on a recording that had been sitting in my phone for 11 months. What came out of those speakers changed everything. My father's face went white. A man at table 6 stood up, adjusted his jacket, and walked toward my father with a manila envelope. That was 3 hours into my wedding. But the story starts 14 years before. For 6 months. When I finally called him, he picked up on the third ring. His voice was flat, bored almost. If you're calling to ask for money, you're just like her. I hung up. I sat on the edge of my mother's rented bed, because I didn't have my own yet, and stared at the wall. But I didn't learn the real reason my mother left until 11 months before my wedding. And when I did, it changed everything. My mother worked the night shift at St. David's Memorial. 12 hours, sometimes 14. She'd come home at 6 o'clock in the morning, make me toast, check my homework, and fall asleep on the couch, still in her scrubs. We lived in a bedroom apartment off Route 9. The carpet was beige and stained. The kitchen faucet dripped. My mother slept in the bedroom. I slept on a pull-out sofa in the living room and did my homework at the kitchen counter because we didn't own a desk. Meanwhile, my father lived in the 4-bedroom house my grandmother, his mother, had left him. Big yard, quiet street, the kind of neighborhood where people wave from their porches and know each other's dogs by name. During the divorce, my father told the court his income was lower than it actually was. My mother's lawyer was a legal aid attorney juggling 40 cases. He did his best. It wasn't enough. The judge signed off on a settlement that gave my mother $40,000. That's it. 14 years of marriage, 1 check. She never told me the number. I found out years later $40,000 for a woman who'd put her nursing career on hold for 6 years to raise me while my father built his real estate business. My grandmother, my mother's mother, Maggie Brooks, helped when she could. She'd drive over with groceries, slip a 20 into my coat pocket when I wasn't looking, but she lived on a fixed income, Social Security, and a small pension from the school district where she'd worked as a secretary for 31 years. At school, a girl in my English class asked me during lunch, "Didn't tired dad say your mom is a homewrecker?" The rumor had traveled from my father's church circle to the school parking lot in under a month. I ate the rest of my sandwich in the bathroom stall. I kept my grades up. I didn't have a choice. Scholarships were my only way out. And when the acceptance letter came, full ride State University, my mother held it in both hands and cried harder than the night we left. My father didn't know I'd been accepted. I didn't tell him. He never asked. "Your mother didn't leave because she's weak, sweetheart." My grandmother told me once, sitting at her kitchen table. She left because she's brave. I wanted to believe that. It took me a long time. I graduated summa cum laude, full scholarship, no debt. I became an English teacher at a public high school 20 minutes from my mother's apartment. The pay wasn't glamorous, $46,000 a year before taxes. But it was mine. Every dollar. I graded papers at night. I drove a 10-year-old Honda Civic. I bought my groceries at Aldi and packed my lunches and Tupperware. And I tried to keep a relationship with my father. I didn't know why. Maybe because I still remembered being 6 years old, sitting on his shoulders at the county fair, believing he was the tallest man alive. Maybe because part of me thought if I just showed up enough, he'd finally see me. He'd call a few times a year, always with conditions. "Come to Thanksgiving, but don't bring your mother's drama." So I went alone. I sat at the table where I'd eaten every Thanksgiving of my childhood, and across from me sat a woman named Vanessa Reed. My father introduced her as a friend. She was 42, blonde highlights, French manicure. She sat in my mother's chair. I smiled. I ate the turkey. I said, "Everything's delicious," to a woman who had replaced my mother at her own dining table. My aunts and uncles treated me like aguist. Polite, distant, careful. Uncle Jim patted my shoulder and said, "Your dad's been through a lot. Don't make it harder." I was 24. I had a full-time job, a clean apartment, and a savings account I'd built from nothing. But in that house, I was still the girl who picked the wrong side. I kept going back every Thanksgiving for 3 years. Iswallowed their looks and their silence, and their careful kindness that was worse than cruelty, because at least cruelty is honest. Until the year I met Daniel, and everything shifted. I met Daniel Prescott at a coffee shop near my school. He was sitting at the corner table with a stack of property files, a cold latte, and a pen behind his ear. He looked up when I knocked his briefcase off the chair, reaching for a napkin. I apologized. He laughed. He had a quiet laugh, the kind that starts in the eyes before it reaches the mouth. He was a real estate attorney at a small firm downtown. Not flashy, no corner office. He drove a Subaru and wore the same 3 ties in rotation, but he listened, really listened.